Here's the number one question we should ask ourselves, not just today, but every day. And that question is this: how do I want to show up? Now listen, here's the thing. We wake up every day, and this happens over time. We fall into a subtle panic state. We are thinking about yesterday. We are worried about the future. We start collapsing on ourselves, right? We start believing that we can't do something, or good shit's not going to happen to us. And because of that, over time, that lays the tracks on how we think, what we think about, right? And that manifests into negative energy, and it becomes like this loop. You guys know the cute little train track that you see like during Christmas that just kind of goes into circles in this little town, and it just goes in circles and goes to, that's basically how we live our lives, or most of us. And so the reason why questions are so important is because they can be the rudder, right? Or they could be the thing that kind of shifts your mental tracks, and you start thinking something different, breaking patterns. Growth is all about breaking patterns, right? And so if you start asking different questions, there's a chance that you can think differently, right? And then by thinking differently, your actions will be different, and you, instead of going in a loop, you'll start creating brand new tracks, a brand new experience, a brand new journey, and brand new beliefs. So if you ask yourself every day, as you have your coffee and you're getting ready for the day, and you say, how do I want to show up today? Now, that's a broad question, so let's break it down. How do you want to show up? How do you want to show up at work? How do you want to show up to what you do? I don't know if you're punching a clock, or I don't know if you're working from home, or whatever you're doing. Everyone's building something these days. And by the way, if you hate your job, you should have a side hustle. There's no excuse today to not do something on the side that you're passionate about. Zero excuse, because there's no wall. You can distribute anything you want, whether it's your paintings, or your content, or your wisdom, or sharing your story. It doesn't matter if you're a writer, or if you're selling a product, or if you're selling t-shirts, whatever it is, you should be doing something, building something on the side if you hate your job, right? So how do you want to show up to work? What can you do in your state, in your way of thinking, in how you engage with people, in your attitude, in your energy? What can you do if your job sucks right now? And I get it, I've been there. What can you do to show up in a way that is different, that is uplifting, that is encouraging, that may change today, that may change your experience? How do you want to show up to your relationships, right? Let's start with friendships. How do you want to show up today with your friends? Are your friendships lopsided, right? If so, how do you want to show up to that, right? Do you need to draw boundaries? Do you need to have a conversation? Or are you the guy or girl in the friendship where you are constantly negative and draining and making it about you? I don't know. If you are, how do you want to show up today? Do you want to change that? Maybe you're complaining about your friends not giving you a lot because you're taking too much, you know? How do you want to show up to your relationship as far as intimate partner, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, husband, wife? How do you want to show up today that's different than yesterday, that's going to improve and change the dynamic? Most of us we have an idea, and we know what we need to do and how we want, how we should act, right? We don't do it because of ego. We don't do it because we're holding on to shit, the tug of war rope, the game, wanting to win, not wanting to give in, right? And if you approach your relationship like that, there won't be a relationship. So maybe showing up to your relationship means to apologize for something. Maybe showing up to your relationship means to forgive. Maybe showing up to your relationship means to love in a way that's challenging, right? Being the bigger person. Or maybe showing up to your relationship means drawing boundaries, or having an honest conversation, or expressing to your partner that you don't like how he or she makes you feel, right? How do you want to show up to your fitness? If you don't have any fitness, I talk a lot about the daily sweat. I believe it's the fastest way to pull you out of a depressed state, right? It elevates mood, shoots dopamine into your brain. This is not an opinion, it's science. We are designed to move, and I'm not saying that you have to work out for 3 hours a day or do something crazy and hardcore, but in your movement, your daily sweat, whether it's yoga, surfing, hiking, or just lifting weights, I don't know, but how do you want to show up to that? You know, do you want to show up to it just going through the motions? Do you want to show up to it with an Us Weekly in your hand? Hopefully not. Or do you want to show up to it using emotional leverage? Do you want to show up to it saying that today I'm going to set myself up for an experience to see if I can push past when I usually give up, right? And in that, what I call the white zone, you get your stretch, you get your growth, you start believing in something different about yourself and what you can do. How do you want to show up with your family? Do you want to fall into the same dynamic and be the kickstand? Do you want to be the middle person that everyone goes to, which creates stress and anxiety for you? Or do you want to allow people to go to the source, disengage, and set the dynamic up in a way where people have to look at themselves and face other family members, right? How do you want to show up to all areas of your life? This is a big question, but it's a powerful question, and I think that you should ask yourself this every day before you leave and go tackle your day. And you know, baby steps. Maybe you start with one area of your life and you start, asking that question slowly to all areas of your life. The way that you choose to show up can change everything.